corners of the night, secrets hidden from the light. Whispers turn to screams, shattering all your dreams. Eyes wide open now, truth you can't disavow. Echoes through the halls, crashing all your walls. Truth seekers, exposing the truth. Truth seekers, coming for you. Uncover the lies, open your eyes. Shadows try to hide, no place for them to bide. Light will pierce you through, reveal what is true. Running from your fears, can't escape the sears. Truth will hunt you down, tear apart your crown. Truth seekers, exposing the truth. Truth seekers, coming for you. Uncover the lies, open your eyes. Eyes wide open now, truth you can't disavow. Echoes through the halls, crashing all your walls. Truth seekers, exposing the truth. Truth seekers, coming for you. Uncover the lies, open your eyes.
Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. I am back after a bit of time off, and I know that several people have noticed, and it's good to be missed. However, I have not taken any significant amount of time off of creating weekly content for I think, 3 years now. And life gets in the way sometimes. I've caught up on some family obligations and family time, and also it's a very busy time of the year with Christmas, New Year's, and then my wife's birthday right after New Year's. So I decided to take some time and attend to some family matters, but I'm glad that I was missed. Tonight, we have a great show for you tonight. There's no secret that I don't really like Shawn Ryan. Dislike would be a word. Some people said, oh, he hates that guy. Hate is a very, very strong word. I am incredibly disappointed that Mr. Shawn Ryan, former Navy SEAL and CIA contractor, would use his tremendous platform to essentially promote and platform lying scumbags. There, I said it. And when we examine the situation with what Mr. Ryan does, there's a pattern. He promotes less than scrupulous people with big sensational stories, and he platforms them and lets them, tell their tall tales with zero critical analysis, zero demands for actual evidence, with no research done into the history of some of his guests. And just to display, we're going to start off right away with displaying some of the previous, this latest situation, which, by the way, so many people are shocked that Mr. Ryan would choose to, I believe, unethically and immorally profit from the tragic death of somebody that's mentally ill. And let's be clear, that's what he did. He profited from the tragic suicide of a man with post-traumatic stress disorder, of a man who was apparently very depressed and suicidal. After all, you would have to be to blow yourself up in a Cybertruck. But that, this is not new. This is what some of these people do. Shawn Ryan has platformed some of the biggest lying scumbags in conspiracy land, and he has done so with absolutely no regard for any type of actual research or any type of actual investigation into them. He just, if they have a sensational story, and this is my opinion, I'm entitled to it. I believe that if he or his producer gets a guest with an incredible story that he can sensationalize and make a lot of money from. By the way, we'll be highlighting for you tonight some of the money that this guy is making. But before we begin, we want to thank a very kind and generous benefactor, Double Tap Ranger Outdoors, with a kind and generous $27.99 Canadian, saying, remember that you have troopers following you, some with PTSD, of which I have tremendous sympathy and empathy for. Double Tap Ranger Outdoors. Looking forward to your shows as it's all getting crazy and the grift is spreading. Thanks for standing. I think that's shedding the light. Yeah, well, thank you for your kindness. And I haven't done it, but we will. We can have a goal for tonight. We'll make it light. 10. We'll make it 20 super chats at teal or higher. And we've got some time to do that. So for the overtime, I'll be doing an Ask Me Anything. And we thank you for, God bless the goal, friends. It's a new year, and we will have to. Oh, see, it's not letting me start a goal. Why is that? Just bear with me one moment, friends. God, I love YouTube. Gotta love YouTube. Well, we'll just say our goal is 20 super chats. I don't know why it's suddenly not goaling, right? Yeah, I don't know why. I'll just put Ask Me Anything. Now it will do it. Okay, so we've got a goal tonight of 20 super chats at teal or higher. And we'll start that goal 3 hours to get there, though I don't think we will be here for 3 hours. I have just a short amount of things to share with you. We will begin with a history lesson of sorts. And that is on previous guests of the Shawn Ryan show, which will display to any reasonable individual that Mr. Ryan doesn't care about the truth. And I love right in the about of his YouTube channel, he mentions his exhaustive search for the truth. But right here, we have the evidence that he doesn't care about the truth, because nobody that's not an unethical, immoral person would platform Stephen Greer without doing adequate research. Mr. Greer has been making fantastical claims for years and years and years. Most notably, recently, Mr. Greer claimed that members of his own team that work for him were assassinated. But if Mr. Ryan had, taken the actual trouble to do any research into that claim, he would find out that two separate individuals who, yes, worked for Dr. Stephen Greer died of cancer with natural causes. There was no murder investigation. I checked with the local authorities in the jurisdictions in which they live. And Shawn Ryan, you didn't do that. You just let this man who claims that members of his team have been murdered on your show to shovel his bullshit. And while he was doing that, it's important to note that Mr. Greer was on Shawn Ryan's show to promote his free energy documentary, which he raised $500,000 to create. Go, Mr. Ryan, you have a producer. Go ask anybody to look at that documentary and see if that documentary cost $500,000 to produce. It did not. That's my opinion as a video editor and content producer, and I'm entitled to it, but you're free to ask other people who produce documentaries. Nobody I've talked to believes that documentary took anywhere near $500,000 to produce. It's a couple of sit-down interviews and stock video. That does not cost $500,000, but it gets better, Mr. Ryan, because before bilking the public for $500,000 to create a film about free energy, Stephen Greer collected $500,000 with his Orion project to create a free energy device and then open source it to the world. You might, Mr. Ryan, want to ask Stephen Greer what happened to that $500,000 and where's the free energy device that he promised everyone. Additionally, Stephen Greer has claimed, along with his free energy claims, has claimed that an entire business got murdered because they were developing free energy, even giving a city. So I reached out to the local police, the state police, the FBI field offices. Wouldn't you know? He lied about that, Mr. Ryan. No entire company was murdered because they were developing free energy. And this is the type, and listen, I don't have a $100,000 a month budget for my show, but we can clearly show you that Mr. Ryan has at least is profiting to the tune of at least $100,000 a month on his show, meaning he's literally making millions of dollars producing content with these kind of lying, grifting, scumbag grifters. And let's be clear, Mr. Ryan uses his perceived credibility as a former Navy SEAL. And I just want to put on the record, I have tremendous respect for any military person, but especially special forces people. Do you have any idea how hard it is to get through SEAL training and become an actual SEAL? And also, let's put on the record that when he started his show, Shawn Ryan focused on veterans issues and post-traumatic stress disorder and other societally beneficial things that he covered in his show and publicized. But somewhere along the lines, Mr. Shawn Ryan joined the conspiracy land UFO land circus, and he figured out that he didn't need to be of any societal good. If he wanted to make money, all he had to do was platform lying, grifting, thieving scumbags like Dr. Stephen Greer. I'm going to drop out here for a second so that I could show you this. If Mr. Ryan had done any research whatsoever, by the way, Mr. Ryan, I have extensive research on Dr. Stephen Greer proving that he over sensationalizes, over promises, and under delivers. Did you know, Shawn Ryan, that he got caught selling people flares as alien spaceships, charging them huge amounts of money to see flares dropped from airplanes during military exercises, and to this day won't admit that those were flares? Did you know that he once charged people huge sums of money and then claimed that an interdimensional alien named Bijou appeared to them? But it turned out that that was a cactus in the desert in the distance. Verifiably, 100%, Stephen Greer scammed people with this level of nonsense. And the fact that a decorated military man who was once a Navy SEAL would even entertain a clown like Stephen Greer, not once, not twice, but multiple times. And then he took Dr. Stephen Greer's evidence free fake whistleblowers and he platformed them as well. His evidence free fake whistleblowers were on the Shawn Ryan show. And several of those fake whistleblowers, Shawn Ryan, have been completely and totally destroyed and debunked as lying, grifting scumbag frauds. And we're going to get into that to provide a little bit of history about the less than ethical, less than moral tactics that Shawn Ryan uses to become a millionaire selling tall tales. Here is Michael Herrera, ladies and gentlemen. Michael Herrera was a United States Marine. And notice that they sold this story as human trafficking. Do you know why? I believe that they did that because human trafficking was a very hot topic in conspiracy land at the time. But Michael Herrera just talks about these boxes that he saw that were being loaded into what appeared to be something like an alien spaceship, but may have been a human recreation based on alien technology. Never saw what was in the boxes, but he decided that there were people in those boxes being trafficked. And Michael Herrera tells an incredible story of being the hero, right? And he came upon this scene where these boxes were being loaded into a floating flying saucer. And he believed, first he said that they were gun trafficking. Then, I guess because it sold better, it turned into a story about human trafficking and alien technology. And, Shawn Ryan, this is another pattern you will notice. He never does any sort of retraction, right? And here, we're giving whistleblowers a platform and a voice this week on the Shawn Ryan show. Former Marine Michael Herrera tells all in one of his three-part series. Herrera and his team, yeah. So, hey, Shawn Ryan, did you know that the commanding officer of this gentleman, Michael Herrera, has gone on the record and come out and said that Michael Herrera made all of his stories up? And he was his commanding officer, always in close proximity to him on all their deployments, and that nothing Michael Herrera said on the Shawn Ryan show ever happened. Full stop. Where then, after and let's be clear, 4.7 million views he got. This is just, and I believe this is just the first in a three-part series he did with this bullshitter. So 4.7 million views. If we're going to be like entirely fair to Mr. Ryan, he made somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 per million views. So you do the math, right? If we go with the upper end, $5,000 per million views, which could be typical for a channel of his size, then he made $25,000 from platforming this lying scumbag, whose commanding officer went on the record on another show and came out and said that Michael Herrera made his entire story up, and nothing that he said on the Shawn Ryan show had any basis in factual reality. So are we seeing the pattern here? And another kind and generous one from Double Tap Rangers. As a vet, I used to like watching him, but when he had Herrera on, I was like, that guy is right out of Central Casting. Yeah, I agree with you. And we want to thank Rotary Motion for a kind and generous £2. Says, Happy New Year, Cambian and family. Keep being you. Thank you for your kindness and generosity and support. For those unaware, we read every single super chat. Railroad Bum. Eric Hecker says you are a hater, Stephen. Oh, we'll get to the Conspiracy Land Plumber and Benji 100 with a kind and generous dollar, I believe. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. Much appreciated. And Lord Ludacris, longtime show supporter, is here in the house. I see many veterans of our show and you new Kino Casino people. By the way, I will be returning to the casino tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're starting the new year off with hitting the ground running here. So Shawn Ryan has this pattern where he platforms these liars, and then usually very shortly after he platforms them, somebody else does the research that he's too lazy or too stupid to do. But let's be clear, if you have a show budget of $100,000 a month or more, you don't have an excuse for platforming, storytelling, fairy tale huckster liars. He could have found this guy's commanding officer. He could have demanded that this Michael Herrera give him the names of the other people involved in the so-called alien human trafficking event, interviewed those people, and found out if Mr. Herrera was telling the truth. He didn't do that. He just let this lying scumbag go on his show. And by the way, Shawn Ryan should have been clued in that this guy was a lying scumbag because he's came directly from Stephen Greer, who is another lying scumbag. You know, and it's very clear that, to me at least, and this is my opinion, that Ryan does this on purpose. He does no research. He does no vetting. So, and then he can use that excuse that all the grifters use, like, well, I'm just putting this out there, just putting this information out there, and people are free to choose what they, you have a responsibility when you have millions of subscribers to not let bullshitters on your show. There's no nice way to say it. So to me, I believe that Shawn Ryan is doing this intentionally. He could hire a researcher. He could hire somebody to vet these people before he platforms them. He never does. And one of the things you'll also notice is he never comes back and says, this Michael Herrera got completely and totally busted as a complete and total fraud shortly after his appearances on the Shawn Ryan show. Did Mr. Ryan come back and say, well, we made a mistake with that one? It turns out his commanding officer. Does he update his audience and tell his audience, oh, listen, it turns out that guy was lying according to his commanding officer, and other people who worked with him in the military all said he was lying? Does he update his audience? Does he apologize for platforming a complete and total liar? No, he never does. ML with a kind of generous $20 says, "What's up, Steve? Thanks for covering this. I missed your voice during the break. Ever considered doing a weird call-in show like Art Bell used to do? Great, great shirt. Thank you. Yeah, this is an Art Bell shirt for those. Yeah, we used to do those call-in shows, but they always get a little wacky, so I'm hesitant to do those because you never know who's going to call in. Sometimes it was fun, and then sometimes it was terrible. But let's get back to our history lesson. Oh, no. I got ahead of myself. So, in the case of this Stephen Greer, you know, it's not hard to do some research into people before you platform them on your huge platform. But Mr. Ryan doesn't do that. And here is proof that Stephen Greer is a complete and total bullshitter. Because this is from 2001, Shawn Ryan, from his disclosure project. And right here at the bottom, it says, "This is the smoking gun." Do you want to know what's in here, Mr. Ryan? This is a bunch of people like Michael Herrera telling stories. There's no evidence, almost no evidence. There is completely and totally fake government documents in this disclosure that Mr. Greer sold to his audience for. This was very, very expensive. I'm told this was hundreds of thousands of dollars to get this disclosure briefing in 2001. And it contains completely 100% totally provable fake government top secret documents are in this from Dr. Stephen Greer. Why do I, as a small content producer with no budget or almost no budget, except for the kindness and generosity of our supporters here, I don't have $100,000 a year budget, but I got this to show the history of Stephen Greer being basically a con artist selling fake stories and fake government documents to stupid people. Why couldn't you, with your $1 million budget, have tracked this down before you platformed this liar? You could have. You chose not to because there's no money to be made exposing the frauds. We know that all too well here. The money to be made is promoting frauds, and that's what Shawn Ryan does. And this latest story is no different. The person that brought him the email from the supposed Las Vegas bomber has provably faked evidence and emails before. Now, I know people are going to come back to, "Oh, no, Stephen, the FBI confirmed those emails were real." No, they didn't. That's another problem in conspiracy land. The FBI said they had strong evidence that the emails may have come from him. Okay, but there's more problems with that because people have been digging into these emails and they may be completely and totally fake. We don't know yet. So why would he run and rush to cash in on this? Because he's here for the money. He doesn't care about the truth. He cares about the bottom line. So we're going to continue with our history lesson here. 1 second. So we've gone over this several complete and total frauds that Shawn Ryan has platformed. And, I'd give him a couple for being new to the space of UFO land or whatever. I'd give him a couple, but, here we see he's also platformed and promoted Billy Carson, who you might be aware from our recent coverage just got exposed as using completely and totally fake sources, basically lying about biblical truth with fraudulent books of the Bible that aren't real books of the Bible. That's his evidence, Shawn Ryan, and you would know that. And also here we can see this. It even says here, Billy Carson is the best-selling author of titles like The Compendium of the Emerald Tablets. Hey, Shawn Ryan, how much research did you do into the Emerald Tablets before you platformed this clown? That's right, you did no research, because had you done some actual research into this, then you would have known that Billy Carson based his entire book on these Emerald Tablets of Thoth on a complete and total New Age scammer from the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, who we can 100% prove lied and scammed people, because first he said that he went to Egypt and got those Emerald Tablets, and then translated them, even though he only had an 8th grade education and could not have translated ancient Egyptian to English. Let's forget about the details. Then he was caught because he didn't have any trips to Egypt on his passport. Then his story changed to, well, I channeled them from this Thoth the Atlantean. I didn't, I went to the Great Pyramid of Gaza astrally. That's the level of garbage that Billy Carson peddles. It's based on, he picked up the grift of a new age grifter from the 30s, 40s, and 50s and ran with it, claiming that those books, even on your show, were 30,000 years old. There's no evidence. Those were channeled bullshit books from the 1930s, Shawn Ryan. And to be fair to Shawn Ryan, maybe he just needs to hire somebody like me on his staff. And by the way, I'm not suggesting he give me a job, but I think it would be a great idea if maybe he had a researcher or somebody that is familiar with these characters and these topics before he just platforms total garbage peddling scumbags that base all of their so-called truth on lies and nonsense. But it gets better, friends, because besides Billy Carson, and by the way, Shawn Ryan, Billy Carson has been completely busted as essentially a grifter that uses less than good sources to base all of his so-called forbidden knowledge. You know what the forbidden knowledge about Billy Carson is? He sells garbage. He sells fake nonsense and fake books of the Bible that he uses to make his sensational claims. Did you do a show informing your audience, hey, we might have got it wrong with Billy Carson. I shouldn't have had him as a guest because it turns out all the sources are garbage? No, you didn't do that. You didn't do that. But it gets better, friends, because here's one of my favorites. He pushed this claim that Dr. Stephen Greer was offered $2 billion to keep UFOs a secret. Come on, Shawn Ryan. Do you really think this guy who's been grubbing money out of the UFO community would turn down $2 billion? What evidence does he have that he was offered $2 billion? Oh, that's right. He said a dead man offered him the money. Very convenient. But this is the level of garbage peddling nutbag stories that Shawn Ryan promotes for profit. Dr. Stephen Greer offered $2 billion to keep UFOs a secret. And here he made 500,000 views. So what is that? $2,000 for putting that false claim out, that evidence-free claim from a decades-long proven grifter scumbag that's been caught hoaxing, lying. And by the way, did you even know, Shawn Ryan, that the people who make Greer's documentaries now are Third Phase of Moon? We have whole documentaries about all their hoaxes and fakes and frauds and forgeries. Why don't you educate yourself before you platform these kind of scumbag liars, right? But it gets better. Eric Hecker, he's my favorite of Dr. Stephen Greer's fake whistleblowers. This guy was a plumber, and he claimed that he went to Antarctica. And while he was a plumber in Antarctica, he got to see all the secret technology at Antarctica. Only one problem, Raytheon, he doesn't have proof that he actually worked for them. He does have some pictures that appear to be from Antarctic base somewhere. And I'm not disputing that he, as a plumber, may have gotten a contract to unclog shitty toilets in some research center in Antarctica. The problem with Eric Hecker is that he also claims that he was part of the CIA's remote viewing project, Stargate. Only one problem with that, and that is that several of the people who ran Project Stargate are on the record saying there was no children. And there's a list of all the people who participated in the project. Did you know, Shawn Ryan, Eric Hecker is not on that list? It's public information. It came from Russell Targ and others who released a list of all of the test and study subjects in Project Stargate. Eric Hecker was not there. Eric Hecker claims he was a child when he was recruited into this program. There was no children. There was no children in Project Stargate. What is Eric Hecker's other evidence? Well, there was a time, Shawn Ryan, when you could go on his website and see fake government documents, even one labeled classified as hell at the top of it. I'm here to tell you, Shawn Ryan, something that you should already know as a former Navy SEAL. The United States government does not put classified as hell on the top of real top secret documents. Only grifters would do something like that. And Eric Hecker had that on his website. There's absolutely no proof to anything Eric Hecker says. He's just a guy telling stories, a plumber, a guy who unclogs shitty toilets. That's who you're promoting. A guy who unclogs shitty toilets is telling you about secret weapons in Antarctica. And you're dumb enough to listen and platform him because you know that you can make money off of this. So there's a short history lesson on just some of the lying, grifting scumbags that Shawn Ryan has promoted and profited from that are all about as credible as a crackhead. All of these people are about as credible as a crackhead telling you stories. I'd believe a crackhead more than I would believe these people because maybe the crackhead's new to you. You don't know they're a liar yet. These people have been out there in the public lying for cash to stupid UFO people, in some cases for decades, in the form of Dr. Stephen Greer. So, sorry, not sorry, this clearly establishes a pattern that Shawn Ryan uses to profit from less than credible people. Now, I just want to take a moment because I've actually written some things for tonight's show. This is nothing new, friends. There is a long and sad history of conspiracy theorists profiting from mental illness and tragedy. And tonight we'll be examining the troubling intersection between conspiracy theory promotion and the exploitation of vulnerable individuals, including those suffering from mental illness or personal tragedy. By weaving real world tragedies like this recent Las Vegas bombing or suicides like this recent suicide, and murders into grand narratives, conspiracy theorists not only distort facts, but they get to profit from the dissemination of these sensationalized and emotionally charged content they create. Tonight, we're going to highlight some of these ethical concerns, the psychological damage, and societal implications of these exploitative practices. Conspiracy theories, my friends, have long captivated public imagination, offering alternative explanations for sometimes complex or very tragic events. However, in recent years, especially since the rise of YouTube, the monetization of conspiracy narratives through online platforms, books, and speaking engagements has incentivized a darker trend, and that is the exploitation of individuals facing personal crises or mental health struggles. We have seen recent examples, such as David Grush, who's a former mental patient who I believe was exploited by the UFO community to tell alien stories. Millions of dollars was generated from those efforts by the various scumbags promoting David Grush's evidence-free stories. And by the way, it's been almost 600 days since his original claims. He hasn't proven one of them, none of them. We've also seen the recent example of Jason Sands, a mentally ill man with an intelligence background who was also, in my opinion, exploited by less than credible, less than ethical, less than moral filmmakers like James Fox. And he too told evidence-free stories up to and including that he was an alien assassin and he was sent to murder alien beings in a cave on Earth. Come on. Prominent conspiracy theorists have observed that capitalizing on the pain of others to lend credence to their narratives is very effective and results in financial gain at the expense of the exploited and their families. Research suggests, of course, these people prey on the psychologically vulnerable and conspiracy believers. Research, after all, suggests that individuals suffering from anxiety, depression, or psychosis are more susceptible to conspiracy theories. A study published in Frontiers of Psychology in 2017 found that psychological distress correlates with a heightened tendency to endorse conspiratorial explanations. Conspiracy theorists exploit this susceptibility, offering simplified, emotionally appealing narratives that seem to explain chaotic or tragic events. This exploitation creates a harmful feedback loop, reinforcing delusions or deepening paranoia. There's certainly some examples that we could cite, like the Sandy Hook tragedy. Following the Sandy Hook elementary school shooting, conspiracy theorist Alex Jones repeatedly claimed that the massacre was a false flag operation staged by the government in order to somehow take away our guns. Jones' claims not only caused immense pain to the victim's family, but also generated significant revenue through his InfoWars platform. Legal action against Jones highlighted the financial motive behind his false claims, resulting in significant defamation judgments. And then, of course, there is the exploitation of suicide in UFO and paranormal communities. Several of these we have covered here, such as the tragic suicide of Mark McCandlish being used to make money by some of these scumbags, or Phil Schneider's tragic suicide being used. He was completely and totally mental. Phil Schneider. Mark McCandlish was apparently suicidally depressed. I spoke to the investigating officers and the coroner. It was a normal suicide. Yet that didn't stop conspiracy land people from creating huge conspiracies around these tragic events. Numerous UFO and paranormal promoters have incorporated suicides into their narratives, suggesting that victims were targeted somehow by shadowy government forces to silence their truth. The Heaven's Gate mass suicide in 1997 is frequently referenced by conspiracy theorists who repurpose the tragedy to reinforce their beliefs about extraterrestrial influence or government cover ups, often leading to, of course, increased book sales and subscriber growth. And then, of course, there's Mel's Hole and the Art Bell legacy. Art Bell's Coast to Coast AM frequently featured callers claiming to possess knowledge of supernatural phenomenon or government secrets. One recurring segment involved Mel's Hole, a purported bottomless pit in Washington state. And when callers shared their personal tragedies or experiences linked to the alleged site, Bell's platform amplified their stories with no verification or evidence requested whatsoever, thereby boosting Bell's ratings and advertising revenue. The deliberate use of these unverified or fabricated narratives centered on personal tragedy raises some profound ethical questions. What about the families of victims who are often re traumatized by relentless harassment from conspiracy adherents, as seen in the Sandy Hook case? Additionally, conspiracy theorists' exploitation of mentally ill individuals further marginalizes vulnerable populations, diverting attention from genuine mental health support and resources. We've seen it time and time again. Some of these conspiracy promoters, these mentally ill people, come to them, and instead of getting them the help that they need, they exploit them. Of course, there is the role of media and social platforms. Social platforms and alternative media outlets provide conspiracy theorists with unparalleled reach, as in the case of Shawn Ryan, who can reach millions of people on his platform. Algorithms are designed to promote engagement, inadvertently prioritize emotionally charged conspiratorial content, which creates a bigger problem from this cycle of exploitation. Recent efforts by major platforms to demonetize or ban accounts engaged in harmful conspiracy promotion represent a tiny or small step forward, but remain incomplete solutions. All right, and we're going to take a moment here to catch up with the live chat. It's flying by furiously. So we'll take a few comments and questions before we get to the most recent Shawn Ryan cash grab, which is this tragic Las Vegas story. You know what? We'll just go right into it. So, as far as Shawn Ryan's show individually, we can examine the rise of Shawn Ryan as a media figure capitalizing on conspiracy theories and sensationalized narratives. By analyzing his content, guest selection, and marketing strategies, as well as his clickbait titles, we can expose the methods that Shawn Ryan uses to profit from often unverified or fabricated stories. We can explore the ethical implications of Shawn Ryan promoting these fringe theories and fringe people that are less than credible, and the broader societal impact of his perpetuation of misinformation, disinformation, and just fake stories. Shawn Ryan is a former Navy SEAL turned media personality, and he's cultivated a substantial following by blending his military bravado with fringe conspiracy theories. His podcast and video content frequently feature guests promoting evidence free claims about UFOs, secret government projects, and paranormal activity. Ryan's skillful presentation, which lacks any critical thinking or critical questions, and also his sensational framing have enabled him to profit incredibly from these narratives, often without providing verifiable evidence or critical analysis. Ryan's background as a Navy SEAL lends an air of credibility to his narratives, and despite his lack of expertise in the subjects he promotes, uh, he has been very successful. This appeal to authority that he uses enhances the allure of his content, attracting audiences seeking alternative explanations for complex societal issues. However, much of Ryan's content mirrors the formula used by other conspiracy peddlers, a mixture of unverifiable anecdotes, exaggerated claims, and carefully curated guests with dubious credentials and histories that are never explored. One hallmark of Ryan's approach is his reliance on guests known for promoting discredited or completely and totally evidence free or unverifiable stories. Figures like Dr. Stephen Greer, who has made extraordinary claims about government held UFO secrets without substantive proof for decades now. Guests like this frequently appear on Ryan's platforms. By giving these figures a platform, Ryan amplifies their reach and legitimacy, perpetuating narratives that lack any evidentiary or empirical support. Ryan's interviews often involve leading questions or uncritical acceptance of his guests' claims, reinforcing rather than challenging the narratives presented. This absence of skepticism serves to entrench conspiracy theories within his audience, fostering distrust in mainstream institutions and established scientific consensus. Shawn Ryan's monetization strategies underscore his financial interest in promoting conspiracy theories. His platforms generate revenue through advertisements, sponsorship, merchandise, and exclusive content subscriptions. The more sensational the story, the higher the engagement, driving greater profits. This commercial incentive creates a conflict of interest as Ryan's financial success hinges completely on his ability to produce content that prioritizes entertainment, sensationalism, and controversy over the truth and actual factual accuracy. Ryan's repeated forays into the UFO narrative exemplify his formula for profit driven content. By promoting claims of hidden alien technology and government cover ups, usually with no evidence whatsoever, Ryan taps into the broader UFO industrial complex, which is, let's be clear, a multi-million-dollar lucrative market fueled by public fascination and media sensationalism. His episodes on UFO related topics often feature speculative commentary, anecdotes, and recycled conspiracy tropes by less than credible people with questionable pasts. And these stories are provided by guests who have been grifting in this space for years or decades in some cases. This approach, of course, draws in larger audiences eager for confirmation of their existing beliefs. So Shawn Ryan has a now proven track record of platforming and promoting evidence-free storytellers and does zero research or vetting of his guests' claims. This is inexcusable given his budget. He could easily hire an investigator or researcher to look into his guests' claims before having them as a guest. Yet he never ever does this, friends. And I can only assume this is because real research or vetting into his guests would ruin his chance to monetize their fake stories. The evidence free claims they make, if he actually gave his audience the entire truth, he wouldn't be able to make half of the money he's making by just promoting nonsense. Um, so certainly adequate vetting or research would ruin his ability to generate profits from the guests and the stories he sensationally promotes. And I believe, my friends, that he is doing this intentionally. He's not a stupid man, but he knows that if he actually has somebody research his guests and their claims before platforming them, there will be no story because most reasonable or rational people would discount the people. After all, Stephen Greer says he had the smoking gun of alien visitation on Earth. This is the smoking gun. This was in 2001. Did you miss the memo, Shawn Ryan? There's nothing in this but fake government documents and anecdotes and stories from wackadoos. All right. Now, on to his most recent foray into, you know, profiting from a tragedy. And let's talk about that for a minute. This man who killed himself in this Tesla Cybertruck was a military man with post traumatic stress. Shouldn't Shawn Ryan, of all people, being a military man himself, having once championed the cause of veterans with PTSD, know that he would be causing harm to that person's family, re victimizing them? So, for those unaware, what happened is that a less than credible guest that he had, who's been caught apparently faking evidence before and is a conspiracy promoter, Sam Shoemate, was sent an email that he claims came from the Las Vegas bomber, who was a 37-year-old Army veteran who officials say shot himself in the back of the head in a Cybertruck before the car burst into flames outside a Trump hotel in Las Vegas. There's some real problems with that email, and just give me a moment. We're going to share that. So there's some debate over whether the email is real, and then you get the conspiracy land disinformation where people say, "Oh no, the FBI confirmed that those emails were real." Not quite. No, they didn't. They said there's strong evidence that that email may have come from the subject. But there's some real big problems with that email. And I want to thank Green Beret Nap Time at GBNT1952, who has delved into this email. And for those unaware, so Shawn Ryan ran to go make a show about this email before he even knew if it really came from that person. And he did so with a person who's been caught faking evidence before to promote conspiracies. The Sam person has been caught faking evidence to promote conspiracies. Shouldn't he have known? Maybe I shouldn't run with a guy who's been allegedly caught faking evidence to promote conspiracies before. You would think so, especially with $100,000 or $200,000 a month budget for his show or profit for his show. But let's get into the actual email. And I'm going to do that this way to make it as big as I can so we could see this. So, there's some real problems with this email. And let's be clear, even if the email is real and came from him, it came from a mentally disturbed man with post traumatic stress disorder who was suicidal and sent this email shortly before the Las Vegas bombing event. So, again, we see a situation in which a mentally ill person says something and we just believe them. As in the case of David Grush, who was a former mental patient, talking about how aliens were on Earth. I'm sorry. David Grush said that interdimensional space monsters were murdering Earthlings, and people just believed him because it fit their pre-existing beliefs. So included in this email is some mention of gravitic propulsion technology. So, of course, all of the usual suspects in UFO land ran with the story to get their piece of the tragedy money. But this is from Green Beret Nap Time, and I thought it was extremely interesting. The main piece of information that does not fit into any plausible explanation of the Las Vegas bombing, allegedly by Matthew Livelsberger, is this email. Let's do a deep dive. So, for those unaware, the email basically mentions war crimes under the Trump administration, gravitic propulsion systems, and a conspiracy theory that there's a Chinese submarine off the East Coast that can park these anti-gravitic drones anywhere on the East Coast, and they have unlimited payloads somehow. And by the way, we can absolutely verify that Matthew Livelsberger was a person who was connected into the UFO space. We know that because he sent the same email to many people that cover UFOs, including Tim Burchett, who's known to be a UFO disclosure congressperson. He would only know that if he had been following the UFO topic for some time. The first and most important reason that the bona fides used in the email are incorrect. The entire purpose of the bona fides is to provide you, is to prove you are who you say you are. So using fake or wrong bona fides literally implies that nothing in this email can be trusted. So in the email that Shawn Ryan promoted with this Sam person, Michael Livelsberger, or whoever sent the email, claimed he owned an '06 Mustang. But as you can see in vehicle registration report below, he never owned that. So basically, the prover maneuver in this email was, just so you know, it's definitely me. My first vehicle was an '06 Mustang. But as we can see, he never owned an '06 Mustang. Never. The second reason that the career Green Beret with experience and training Matt received would not have the second line of the email state that he was not under duress or hostile influence or control. He was a Jedburgh, meaning he went through highly specified training in human intelligence, a tradecraft, and psychological operations. He would know that making such a statement would raise red flags, such as the following: it raises unnecessary suspicion and inadvertently draws attention to the possibility that you actually are under duress or operating under influence. It is considered overcompensation by volunteering information that was unprompted or not requested and would imply that you were not in a competent mental state, making your follow on statement seem unconvincing. This statement could also be considered as a way to create a paper trail that fits with the specified narrative. And here we go. The third reason that was, by all accounts, not an unacknowledged special access problem related to the drones, he speaks of in line 3, according to team members and others that operated with him. So, other people that worked with him said he was not part of an unacknowledged special access program. They worked with him, they knew what he did. Um, Despite him saying so at the end of the email, he claims to have small unmanned aircraft systems qualifications in his LinkedIn, which is the team or operational unit level drone training qualification for drones that are under 55 pounds with limited capabilities. So he's not working on big, you know, big platforms. He's working on small 55 or less pound drones with limited capabilities. Many teams train with drones that would fall under SUAS qualification, and they are used for battlefield reconnoitering, in other words, reconnaissance, or even target acquisitions and connect strikes with small explosive payloads. None of this was implied that he was read in on a top secret government program that would be researching and developing gravitic propulsion systems, as stated in the email. In fact, such a program would be so heavily compartmentalized that only people directly involved with the specific Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, USAP project would be read on and able to access information about this if it even exists. So, where did this come from and why add this in if it only makes you look crazy and uninformed? Suspect for sure. And here we go. The fourth reason is that the next three lines read like something straight out of an anti China MSN talking points, rambling about the East Coast drones and Chinese submarines by someone who clearly has no information or expertise into the subject. For one, the drones being Chinese launched from Chinese submarines is highly unlikely. The U.S. Navy has sophisticated submarine detection systems that include long range acoustic detection systems that utilize hydrophones to detect anomalous incursions by submerged vehicles, satellite surveillance, audience sonar, and underwater drones. So, here, what we get to, friends, is that the claims made in the email are completely and totally ludicrous. And anybody with an expertise in these actual things would know that. So, even if the emails from him are real, he's basically just promoting conspiracies, which is in line with something that, a paranoid, mentally ill person would do. The fifth reason is the following line states: I have been followed for over a week now from likely Homeland or FBI, and they are looking to move on me. I have a massive VBIED. I've been trying to maintain a very visible profile and kept my phone, but they are definitely digitally tracking me. If you are concerned about being tracked by Homeland or FBI, which are the same federal entities at this point, and can badge however they want depending on their purposes, why would you do the following, which are clear breaches of survive, evade, resist, escape training, a course he would have taken in Tradecraft 101? Why would you keep your phone on you and continue to allow them to track you, especially if you had a massive VBIED, which is obviously he did not have? He had a 2-bit redneck conglomeration of mortar, fireworks, gas, and campfire fueling canisters put together as if he were a child. This makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Why would you rent a rolling live streaming trackable computer such as a Tesla Cybertruck to begin your evasion on a digital site such as Turo? For those unaware, he rented that from Turo. So there's a lot of things that don't make sense in these email. The sixth reason is that the email itself contains a ton of misnomers or flat out wrong information. For instance, the email states US FORA, which is an acronym for United States Forces Afghanistan. Someone at this level, especially as an ODA member in 2019, would have been working under the Special Operations Joint Task Force Afghanistan at the highest level, and he would have known this. So there's some problems in just the formatting. The seventh reason is that the entire paragraph about work crimes in 2019 is absolutely bonkers. Even if he was doing targeting, which he obviously was not, depending on which he was at, where he was at the time, this information is already known public news. It is common knowledge that the United States dropped a record number of bombs in 2019 in Afghanistan. And it is also already public knowledge that civilian casualties exceeded those caused by the Taliban during the first 6 months of 2019. Matt would have known this, and alluding to this being some smoking gun that could get him in contact with higher ups is, to put it mildly, laughable. The eighth reason is there are formatting inconsistencies in the email, and despite numerous requests, Sam has yet to provide a view of the email and technical data from Proton Mail outside of a text editor. So there's problems with the formatting. The ninth and final reason is that the manifesto found on his phone in the vehicle after the explosion and the email are most likely, this is where it gets good, written by two different people, as originally pointed out by Kyle Seraphin, who has tons of investigative experience. The truck manifesto reads as if it was written by a career Green Beret and has many of the common views and concerns many of us that have seen the fighting force diminish, while the email reads as a crazy, uninformed person writing to fulfill a conspiracy theory narrative about World War III and other mainstream media talking points. And AI agrees. So somebody put these two things, the email that Shawn Ryan promoted for profit and the manifesto through AI, and they diagnosed both the truck manifesto and the email as being written by two separate people. So where do we go from here? I obviously do not know. I do not know what happened to Matt, just like I don't know if he had a mental break and did this or was later unwilling participant or patsy. And here's where it gets great. Shawn Ryan cried to this person who did the analysis. Thanks for blasting me. I really appreciate it. We've spoken before. You could have asked me personally before blasting me. Thank you for the courtesy. You're a real pal. Hey, Shawn Ryan, you intellectual weakling, why didn't you get somebody to do the analysis of the email before you platformed it? Like I said, thanks for the courtesy of checking with me first. I hope you feel great about it, says Shawn Ryan. So Shawn Ryan is crying that he was called out and that there's major problems with these emails that he promoted in profit as coming from the Las Vegas bomber. There still has been, as before the time of this broadcast, I checked briefly, there still has been no actual confirmation from the FBI that this email came from the subject, despite numerous people claiming that it did. And here, my friends, is where things get even better. Because even better, so there's problems with the email that Shawn Ryan didn't catch, his guest didn't catch, and his guest, my friends, is already backpedaling on his story significantly. Uh, and that's interesting to me. Just 24 hours after appearing on the Shawn Ryan show, his guest Sam suddenly changed his mind about a great many things and has begun backpedaling from the original story that he told. And also, bear with me 1 minute. Okay, 1 second here. So, why couldn't Shawn Ryan catch all these things that everybody else caught? Doesn't he research anything before he runs with it? Fat Chick Thriller, welcome back, King. I'll catch the replay, says Fat Chick Thriller. Well, thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. I appreciate you, Fat Chick Thriller. Thanks for appreciating us. And let me just check in for a moment. We're only at 4 of 20 for our goal today. So let's go. Let's get some closer to the goal. I would appreciate that. We need to get 16 more and we have an hour in which to do it. So we appreciate your support, all you super chatters. Let's get some super chats in the till. All right, so it's interesting to me that the person that brought Shawn Ryan this story has changed his entire original story. And you got to remember also that this person, Sam, did a great amount of piling evidence-free speculation and conspiracy theories on top of this questionable email to create this narrative. Oh, maybe he's not dead. Maybe he put a body into that Tesla and then made it drive itself to the location and then detonate it from a distance. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it's an insult to that man's family that Shawn Ryan would let some scumbag come on a show and say, he's still alive. You're re-victimizing that man's entire family by allowing this, Shawn Ryan. Who would do that? But let me share my screen here, because this original guest of his has completely and totally changed his story. Completely and totally changed his story. Oh, thank you. PanX07 with a kind of generous $5 says, thank you for exposing this clown. I can see the glow of this op from orbit. Yeah, a lot of people think this is a psyop, especially considering Shawn Ryan is a former CIA contractor. And I think so is the guest that did this with him, right? Or the guest at least has a background in military intelligence, I believe. Great, great. Yeah, not suspicious at all. 1 second here. Oh, I had another point to make that's very important as well, but we'll get back to that. All right, 1 second. Let me just share my screen. And by the way, I didn't mention it for the other things that I have shared, but we'll mention it now. Fair use. This is a transformative work, and we are educating the public. We'll be commenting and critiquing the video that we are sharing, so this is certainly covered under fair use. So the person changed their entire story already, less than 24 hours after Shawn Ryan aired this thing. This person changes their story, and this video is titled Shawn Ryan Cybertruck Source walks back his own story 24 hours later and says psychotic break, which, just to be clear, people have been asking me about this since it began. I read the emails in the manifesto and said it sounds like what I believe it is: a mentally ill person who's suicidally depressed, possibly suffering from some kind of psychotic break, wrote those, and it's tragic, but there's no reason. If this person had evidence of his claims, he would have presented them in his manifesto or, in a data packet somewhere. He didn't do that. He just made claims. But it is what it is. I don't think that this kind of stuff will ever stop as long as it remains profitable for less than ethical people like Shawn Ryan to profit from somebody's tragic suicide. Let's get into this video, friends.
Dude had a screw loose. He was not a crazy dude, whatever else. And that's what I knew. And then after the podcast, I found out that it was literally, he changed his medication within days of this event.
Well, we have a twist in the Cybertruck Green Beret in the source.
Yeah, first he said he never mentioned any of this, right? Now he's suddenly saying, well, he's just a guy that had a psychotic breakdown.
Oh, a 180 here. We got the gravity drones and we got all these war crimes allegedly. Now we come to find out from Sam that it's a 180. He just had a mental breakdown.
Oh, I hope that's not copyrighted music. With my luck, it is.
Well. Would you look at that? Now, I am really
that
not
quickly,
a
the story
I
changes.
told you so type of person, but man, guess what, guys? I told you so. So, all of the super emotionally upset haters in the comment section about how I don't know what I'm talking about. interesting because now Sam, who again pushed this crazy story on Shawn Ryan, has come out not just a what 15 hours later, a day later, and is now completely flip-flopping his story that he doesn't believe any of that in the manifesto, and
Yeah, he originally believed everything, right? Now all of a sudden he doesn't believe it because this person was suffering from mental illness. You didn't know they were suffering from mental illness when you first read it? You know, come on, man. And I just want to mention that even in my Discord, people were promoting this story, and I will freely admit that I lost my temper on people that are sharing this conspiracy theory, because to me this is just a mentally ill person who tragically killed themselves and people exploiting that for personal profit. That's what I thought happened. I didn't really want people sharing this in my Discord, but people did. And what bothered me about people sharing some of this stuff in my Discord is this is the same thing that's being promoted by people like Ashton Forbes, people like David Wilcock. Everybody's running into profit off of it. All the UFO scumbags, like if all the UFO scumbags are jumping all over this to get their piece of the money, then it's likely not a real story. And so quite understandably, I got very angry, and people want to argue with me in the Discord, like, oh no, the FBI said the emails are real. No, they didn't. You got to go with facts. They said they're likely they came from the subject, but there's still, as of the time of this broadcast, been no confirmation that they actually did come from the subject. Nemesis Beck says, "Happy New Year, kind and generous." £5. Thank you, Nemesis Bex, longtime show supporter. Praise the cash. And Mike Larry is here to praise the cash big, who gifted 10 True Seekers memberships, friends. And this is why you should smash that subscribe button. Because if you were not aware, if you're in the live chat and a kind and generous person like Mike Larry gifts 10 memberships, those memberships are randomly distributed to people in the live chat. People like Turvik got a free membership. Mike Labyrinth and Void got a free membership. John P. Adventures got a free membership. Frank and Ernest got a free membership. Simon Fly, good to see that, longtime show supporter and contributor, was gifted a free membership by Mike Larry. Hank Drunkowski, is that your real name? Drunkowski was gifted a membership. Benji 100, Muspel, Oliver Ollie Bear, Marcus Mandel, all could thank Mike Larry for a kind and generous gifted membership. So make sure you smash that subscribe button, because during a live broadcast, if somebody gifts memberships, they get randomly distributed in the live chat to people who are subscribed but not yet a channel member. And thank you, P18, for a kind and generous $5. Just says happy. Okay, maybe you meant Happy New Year, but thank you, P18.
Believes that it is a psychotic break. Whose theory was it just 15 hours ago that the email was stupid and this was obviously just a psychotic break?
Yeah, this person got a lot of heat in his comments for reading these things and saying this is obviously just a person with mental illness. And a lot of the things in the email and the manifesto don't really make sense. So was this person just paranoid, delusional, mentally ill, suicidally depressed, maybe all of the above? And we shouldn't take the information in either the email or the manifesto very seriously, given the source. That was my position. And I got a lot of heat for it as well. It caused arguments in our Discord. I just didn't see, and given Shawn Ryan's track record, this is what he does. He promotes these sensational stories, and then you'll see Shawn Ryan will pivot to the next sensational story. He'll never address all of these things and the information we're sharing with you tonight.
I don't know. You guys remember who said that? Now, there's a lot more to this, because he's actually, he's changed his story, but he also now he's even doing it sloppily now. Because now, even if he's going to use the psychotic break angle, the things he's saying, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And we're going to get into that too, all right? We're going to use the video that Jameson did on this, because Jameson started to bring up some really good points about this flip-flop and how this still is just not a great look. And then we're going to sort of extrapolate and expand on some of the things that Jameson brought up. All right, so first thing we're going to do is jump into a clip, and then we will react to it from there.
And this is fair use.
drones and the war crime shit, and now it's just the guy had a mental break, and that was reporting. What were the odds of that to start with? That there was gravity drones, anti-gravity drones flying around, or the guy had a mental break?
Oh, now I got it.
I mean, what would you call it if you had to gamble
Happy
and said, what do you think
from
happened
P18.
here?
New.
Boy, oh boy, did Shawn do a retraction? Hey, we made a mistake? Probably, right?
So, just like Jamin said, and I said in my video yesterday,
Thanks,
looking
P18.
at this email immediately when I opened it up and started reading through it, and it was talking about, again, Bob Lazar Element 115, anti-gravitational propulsion, Chinese alien drones.
Yep.
You should have immediately come to the conclusion this was most likely a fake email or a massive psychotic break.
Yeah. And instead, people decided to just profit from the tragic suicide of a mentally unwell man. And that's the tragedy of this.
Did not take a genius to understand that. All right. So
I want to put on the record as well that maybe I'm being too harsh to people who didn't instantly recognize that this was the writings of a mentally unwell man, but I happen to have a history of schizophrenia in my family. So to me, this read like a schizophrenic person having a psychotic break, especially the email, the paranoid email. And I often forget that some people don't have that experience. So maybe, just maybe, I should give people a break for not recognizing things that I'm a little more familiar with. But thank you, P18. I think there'll be another one that says year. So he's cutting up Happy New Year into 3 super chats. Very generous of you. And then we have Warrior MH with a kind and generous $27.99 says, huge fan, long live metal. Thank you for your kindness. And we have Nam saying, take my money, good sir. I haven't had time to keep up with the happenings of this story. Thank you for your kindness. And then we have P18, year. Won't let me just type year. That's interesting. Well, thank you, P18, and all of you kind and generous benefactors. We're edging towards the goal. We have Jimmy Tchaikovsky. Shawn Ryan had an X-Base talking about this episode yesterday. Yeah, and he basically doubled down. He apologized, but then said that he still believes that he did the right thing putting it out there. Go talk to that person's family, Shawn Ryan, and ask them if they believe you did the right thing, re-victimizing them. But thank you, Jimmy Tchaikovsky. If we have time, we can get into the space, but I'm not sure that we will have time for that. But let's continue with this, because the fact that this source of Shawn Ryan's changed his entire story just a day after doing the show with him, I think it speaks volumes about the validity of the original claims this person was making. Remember, he was all chips in on the manifesto, and there's Chinese drones off the East Coast and submarines, none of which could logically be true. If you know anything about the United States Defense Forces, they'll know if there's a submarine off of the East Coast. They'll know it, and they will do something about it. Any adversarial technology would have to be off of the East Coast in international waters. Couldn't come into our territorial waters.
for everybody who immediately jumped on this, like this was like, again, in the email, it talks about how this is the biggest event in human history, and that we're going to mutually obliterated destruction with China because of this. All that crazy inflammatory language.
Sounds like delusional
Plus that there was
thinking.
still spelling editor squigglies as if that was an email draft. Right? Like this, again, it never made any sense. All right, let's jump.
And the explanation for that, I will agree with. It appears in Proton Mail, if you forward an email, it will return those squigglies. So maybe that's not an issue.
Jump back into it.
But I still am not convinced that the email is real. I'm just not convinced that the email is real, given that person's history of promoting evidence-free conspiracies and manufacturing evidence.
People on my Instagram page started telling me things. So I had a lot of people reaching out, telling me what they had talked to, but with their Green Beret buddies. One person reached out and told me they had a very close connection to members of the family, which I won't go into. But what I've learned since then, and I'm going to say allegedly because I don't have proof of this, but I've had 3 people tell me this.
Terms.
There's a lot of alleged stuff come out of this guy.
Alleged.
Not against him. I get all sorts of DM, all sorts of shit from people. Do I run with it? No. Just can't verify it. I don't go to Shawn Ryan and say, hey, 3 tier 1 guys hit me up about a story in Syria because it's not my jam.
Okay. And like Jameson says, he gets constant DMs from people when he, covers topics.
As
and this is
do
what I'm
I.
going to tell you guys. This is how irresponsible this was of Sam.
I agree. 100% irresponsible.
Take things that random people he doesn't know are sending him on Instagram as actual fact. I had like 5 people message me on Signal, Instagram, claiming to be Matt's teammates. And I didn't tell anyone. I didn't share that with anyone. I didn't post that on my Instagram because the likelihood of any of that being real and these people, and it just not being random people that want to interject themselves into stories, is close to 0 usually.
You have to be very careful.
Could there potentially be someone connected to a whistleblower? Sure, but what you don't do is just immediately take that and then run onto the Shawn Ryan podcast and convince Shawn, basically trick Shawn into thinking you've got a bunch of...
And by the way, I don't think Shawn was tricked. I think he was in on it. He knew that this would be a huge sensational story. Even adding some drama and theater, claiming that he had to disappear with his family because this information was so dangerous right after he aired that show. It's all part of the stagecraft used to sell the fake story.
Valuable information that you don't. And I want to make it clear, everybody thought I was attacking Shawn Ryan in the video I did yesterday. I said in the start of the video, I like Shawn. I like Shawn's content.
Yeah, and by the way, I just want to put on the record that I was in a space last night where people were praising what great work Shawn Ryan does. And as evidenced by the history lesson I gave at the beginning of tonight's broadcast, people are unaware that he platforms lying scumbags all the time. They just don't know because they don't research his guests, just like Shawn doesn't research his guests.
I said the only criticism I had of Shawn was that he was too quick to move on information this dude gave him. That's it. It's the only criticism I have.
To move.
Okay, and that's still my only criticism. I'm sure Shawn is going to come out after seeing this dude walk back his statements, and I'm sure he will, again, retract, this as being some type of breaking story, because it's obviously not.
Family members, let me make that clear. I saw on social media that members of his family had said that this was not normal for him. He was very normal. He was very sane mind. His teammates were shocked. Everybody was shocked because he was not a crazy dude, whatever else. And that's what I knew. And then after the podcast, I found out that it was literally he changed his medication within days of this event.
Again, why wouldn't that be the first assumption that he was on medication?
Yeah, and this is a real problem because did he verify with his doctor that the medications were changed, or is he just running with things that people are telling him?
All the history we know from these guys in the GWA with multiple tours of combat, TBI, all of that, you just go, first assumption, he had a mental break.
And I just want to mention...
Exactly what Jameson just said.
Of course, people like Ashton Forbes are streaming right now claiming the emails are real and getting their piece of the money of this tragic story. It's just... And of course, David Wilcock jumped into this story as well to get his piece of the money. Everybody's there to get their piece of the tragedy pie.
We all have PTSD. This dude, I know he's a grizzly combat vet. It got reported that he's got Valor Awards, right? So again, like Jameson said, why wouldn't, like my first initial reaction, why wouldn't you immediately see when you see all this crazy shit being said that potentially we got a mental issue going on? Not run out and again, basically trick Shawn Ryan into putting this crazy manifesto about Chinese drones up like that's an actual story. All right, now.
Yeah, and just so everybody's aware, fear porn sells. Fear porn sells. You should be concerned because there's Chinese drones that are going to be attacking the United States, and they can park bombs right on the White House lawn, and they have unlimited payload because of this gravitic propulsion system. You should be scared. You should be afraid. This is something that you need to worry about. This is something you got to be concerned about. And thanks to ET for gifting one True Seekers membership. Again, you should hit the subscribe button because you could get a free membership like Nick P, who was gifted a membership by ET. Thank you, ET. And we have Hypno Toad with a kind and generous $5. Did you still Did you steal the what faith this guy post 12 hours ago? Schizo post, saw some of it. It's pure brain melt. No, I did not see that. You can email it to me at truthseekershow@gmail.com. And ET with a kind and generous $2 Canadian says, down with Trudeau. I hear a lot of people are awfully happy about Mr. Trudeau, popping his resignation today. The world is a stage, says Mr. Nobody. Yeah, couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
What I really don't like is how, like Jameson's talking about here, how sloppy this dude is. Because now he's walked back this story, and now he's going with my theory, which was psychotic break. Okay. But he's doing it super sloppy and irresponsible this way too.
Yeah, absolutely. Because even walking it back like this shows that he didn't do any due diligence on the original story. He just ran with it. So now the story's got to evolve and change as new information becomes available.
What did he just say? Did you guys hear what he said? He said, and somehow he finds out from yesterday until today, he finds this information out. He finds out that the family, of course, said they couldn't see this. Yeah, this is super typical. It's like every time anything bad like this happens, that's immediately what people say. Never could imagine this happening, right? But then he says he found out that his medication was changed a day before this happened. And I can tell you, as someone who's been on these type of medications and the vast majority of combat veterans.
Yeah, one day would not make a difference.
First of all, if you change let's say a depression, psychotic drug medication that you're on, it doesn't take effect in one day.
That's absolutely true.
These drugs usually take,
to the best of my knowledge,
1, 2, 3 weeks for you to start feeling any effect whatsoever. That's the way these antipsychotic, antidepressant
it's not
drugs
instant.
work. All right. 2, finding out that he's on antipsychotic medication, which he talks about, is not like anything necessarily breaking. For those of you who don't understand, like almost any type of like depression, anxiety, medication,
I kind of agree, Mr. N.
like falls under an SSRI of an antipsychotic medication. People take antipsychotic medications for sleep. I think Jameson talked about in his video how he takes an anti-seizure
change of medication
for a separate issue. He doesn't even have seizures. Okay, so just because this dude,
if you come off of them, there could be some terrible effects. Absolutely.
Antipsychotic medication does not necessarily immediately mean because he changed the medication one day later, he's going to run out and blow up.
I'm familiar with that one, Nick P.
Now, I'm not discrediting the psychotic break angle because that's what my initial theory was that I put out on my channel. But like trying to tell people that you found out that he changed his medication a day ago and that's why he had a psychotic break, that's dumb. It's not.
I think most psychiatrists and psychologists and doctors would agree that a one-day change wouldn't make, you wouldn't change your meds and then suddenly blow yourself up in a Cybertruck. He obviously had ongoing mental health issues.
How any of this works. So he was, and I don't want to beat up Sam too much. I don't know the guy, but seeing now what he did on the Shawn Ryan podcast, seeing him walk this back immediately, making Shawn look stupid, and then doing this in a haphazard way where he still doesn't know what he's talking about, is kind of embarrassing. So the credibility of this dude has evaporated very, very quickly. No knock on him.
Yeah, and some people more familiar with this, Sam, would say that he wasn't credible to begin with, but
again, personally, I don't know him, but from the two things I've seen out of him, like, what are we doing here? Not great. All right, let's jump back into the video because there's a few more things that I want to talk about here.
He could have been acting very bizarre, very strange. And the manifesto that he wrote, along with these letters and everything else, the guy was clearly, and I will stick to this. His desire was to send a message. It wasn't to do a mass casualty event. It wasn't to screw anybody over. It was.
Okay, there were 7 people injured. I know it says minor injuries in the AP, but he parked the thing in front of a hotel.
They could have been killed.
Right?
All of them could have
I
been
could have
killed.
been walking out of the hotel at 3 in the morning on a bender.
Oh. Hold on 1 second, friends. I did not mirror this one, so pardon the interruption. Let's get back to it.
Again, great points by Jameson here. First of all, like, there's no point in listening to what this dude's theory is on why Matt did what he did at this point, right? This guy doesn't have any credibility whatsoever in the reporting process on this at this point. However, like Jameson said,
Doug
that's
and
a
Stacey are
stupid theory to
off-grid
begin
YouTubers.
with.
They
Like, maybe,
promote
like,
off-grid
trying to say,
lifestyle.
oh, he's just trying to make a point and make a statement. Like Jameson said, he blew up a Tesla Cybertruck in
But
front
I'm
of
not
the
allowed
doors
to
of a
promote
hotel.
that,
Could
being
have
a
killed
content creator here.
children, women, innocent people that just happened to be walking in front of that doorway, walking out of that doorway. No, like Jameson said, he's not getting a pass as some Batman savant
What are you
who's
gonna
sending
do?
this 4D chess message. No. Like, and here's another thing that I keep saying, and you know, Tim Kelly or Tim Kennedy, his ability to interject himself into everything. He's been all over Fox News talking about what a wonderful person Matt is, and it's so terrible to see. Nobody could believe this. Yada yada yada. Maybe. Sorry guys, I'm a fellow Green Beret, and I'm gonna tell you this. Any dude who's willing to go potentially park a truck bomb in front of a hotel
And I agree with
and
this
kill
very
innocent
strongly.
Americans isn't getting a pass as a good person to me. He should be ashamed of himself, Matt Livelsberger, for what he did. All right? He's not some hero. He's not sending some message.
Yeah, it's a miracle that nobody was seriously injured. That truck, the major reason that there was no mortalities is because of the construction of the Cybertruck. It doesn't quite blow up like a normal truck would because of the construction of those Cybertrucks. So, you know, those people that were injured have Elon Musk, I think, to thank for why they weren't killed, because that truck was packed with gasoline and fuel canisters, and the entire back bed was full of gasoline, fuel canisters, and explosive devices, mortars, fireworks.
Yeah, unfortunate. Mental illness. A lot of us have it. Doesn't give you an excuse to create domestic terrorist attack on U.S. soil and potentially kill Americans. So no, cut that narrative out. All right. All right. One more. We're gonna check one more thing and talk about it, and then we'll do a conclusion to this.
Going to get into the labeling of him. I don't know what his situation was, but I believe that he had a psychotic break. Whatever he was living with, from whatever he thinks happened in 2019, whether it happened or not, these alleged war crimes.
I got this information from the Veteran Biker. Check out his channel in the description. This is Dale Stark, right? Dale Stark. Don't know his stuff. It's a 180, right?
Yeah, so this Sam is making a complete 180 too. The information in these emails and this manifesto is likely accurate to now, he had a psychotic break and maybe we can't trust the information presented as being genuine, or it might have just been the result of a psychotic breakdown. You think?
Instead of saying, looks like the guy had a mental break, let's just see what happens here. Let's get this reporting.
Yeah, again, Jameson's absolutely right here. And now he's talking alleged war crimes, right?
Yeah, allegedly.
And I ran through that in my video too about how dumb that story sounded from just a practicality standpoint of how strike targeting works. But yeah, I mean, like, how haphazard and sloppy is this? And like James said, again, I'm actually not blaming Shawn Ryan at all for this.
Oh, I am. I don't care. Like, I know more, apparently, no offense to this content creator, but I know a great deal more about Shawn Ryan's history of promoting and platforming complete liars for profit. So I do blame Shawn Ryan, because when you have a platform that big, you have a responsibility to not promote nonsense. And Shawn Ryan never takes a moment to not promote nonsense. If it's nonsense and he thinks it'll be a sensational story that he could clickbait and make tons of money off of, he does.
I think Shawn, and I said this in the first video, I think Shawn, I mean, this was a big story. It seemed like a big news break, and Shawn wanted to get this out to the American people, right? And I think he did it. I don't think he did it in a nefarious way whatsoever.
I do.
It just happened that he got by this dude, right? Didn't do his due diligence, didn't take a tactical
I'm
pause
sure
and say, wait,
Shawn is going to blame that guy
this actually
for
make
this.
sense?
He's not going to
Because it
take
didn't.
responsibility. He's going to
And
blame the Sam
unfortunately,
guy.
he got tricked by this dude. and that's the way it goes, right? And Shawn's gonna be fine, right? It's not gonna hurt his channel. Who cares, right? Like, not that big of a deal. Everybody's freaking out, like, oh, this is gonna discredit Shawn. No.
No, Shawn was already discredited to anybody that actually understands who he platforms and his history of platforming bullshitters. But it is what it is, friends.
Nobody's gonna care about this in a week. But Shawn does need, now that this guy has come out and basically just been like, oh, whoopsies, sorry, but I don't actually believe any of this stuff either. Shawn definitely needs to come out and acknowledge that.
And to my knowledge, he hasn't. He's still said, oh, I believe I did the right thing putting this out there.
But I'm sure he will.
I'm not sure he will.
So yeah, guys, again, like I said, I hate to say it, but I told you so. Psychotic break.
Yeah, so I think we've seen enough of that to, just prove the point here. And there's a few other things that I wanted to show you just so that, so one second here. Anybody can go to some content creators' social blade and get a good estimate, at least, of how much money that they are making. And if we look at the Shawn Ryan show, he got 41 million views in the past 30 days. And if we just do some very quick math and, let's be fair and say, okay, he got 41 million views, and we times that by $4,000 on YouTube. That would mean that Shawn Ryan has made $164,000 just this month alone. So, my issue with Shawn Ryan is if you're got a show that's making $160,000 a month, you don't have any reason or excuse to not have a researcher, right? Mr. N is apparently not a fan of Doug and Stacy, the YouTube channels. They faked their entire presentation. They got exposed. They don't even live on their homestead. It's a commercial. It's wild. They were doxxed. Yeah, there is. For those unaware, you got to be careful with these YouTube channels because many of them are not what they appear to be. In some cases, they basically pretend to live on this off-grid property while they're living nearby in luxury. And that was that Alaskan family was caught doing exactly that. They were staying in a hotel, a sort of a luxury hotel, while they were claiming to be living in the wilds of Alaska. Nick Kreitman with a kind and generous $4.99 says, I think the UAP drone nonsense was to get a platform for a call to arms on the Notes app. Sincerely, he knew shills would eat it up. And he was apparently very connected and plugged into the UFO community and consuming UFO related content. So maybe that's where his claims of gravitic propulsion came from and not from any real or verifiable source. But thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. So apparently Shawn Ryan did apologize, according to this article in Newsweek, but it's kind of to me, it's a really plastic, shitty apology, not a real one, but it is what it is. I guess, he's not going to acknowledge that he just victimized that person's family. Podcaster Shawn Ryan apologizes after Matthew Livelsberger email episode. Shawn Ryan, host of the Shawn Ryan Show, apologized after he shared an email that a retired U.S. Army intelligence officer said he received from Matthew Livelsberger. Livelsberger is believed to be the driver of the Tesla Cybertruck that exploded outside the Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. Ryan issued an apology on Sunday to Livelsberger's family and friends during the X Spaces appearance. Quote, if I said or did anything disrespectful to dishonor him, I apologize immediately, he said. Ryan first shared the email, which former Army officer Sam Shoemate says was sent to him on Friday. Livelsberger was a 37-year-old Army veteran who officials say shot himself in the back of the head in a Cybertruck before the car burst into flames outside of Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. The local sheriff said that the body inside the Cybertruck was burned almost beyond recognition, and authorities are not 100% sure if it's Livelsberger. The incident is being investigated as a possible terrorist attack. What to know? Las Vegas FBI Special Agent in charge Spencer Evans told reporters on Friday that Livelsberger, who had been deployed to Afghanistan, was struggling with post-traumatic stress disorder and other issues before the incident. Around 7% of veterans experience post-traumatic stress disorder at some point in their life, according to U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Some studies have found that PTSD is 3 times more likely among veterans who were deployed versus those who were not in the same service period, the VA says. Ryan said he had been made aware of Livelsberger's struggles and offered condolences to the suspect's family and friends. How about you give the money to them that you made on this episode, which I think he got 3 million views. So Shawn Ryan made $12,000 running with this story and profiting from the tragic suicide of a fellow veteran. Great job, Shawn Ryan. This was a human being who served his country honorably for years, and I don't want to take away from that, Ryan said. He added that he did not want to attack Livelsberger, but believed the information was so important it had to come forward. Yeah, the ramblings of a suicidally depressed, mentally ill person is so important it had to come forward. Ryan has over 3 million subscribers on YouTube and 1.2 million followers on Instagram. His followers on Instagram include Ivanka Trump and Joe Rogan. The email publicized on Ryan's podcast has not yet been officially confirmed. Among other things, it makes allegations about drones, government surveillance, and U.S. involvement in Afghanistan. Did police confirm Matthew Livelsberger's manifesto is real? Evans mentioned the alleged manifesto at a press conference on Friday. He said investigators believe Livelsberger wrote it, but they have not been able to verify it. Las Vegas police authorities said they obtained 2 letters from one of Livelsberger's phones. Oh, and by the way, that's also part of the disinformation that's happening right now. People are saying, well, his body was in the vehicle and it was burned beyond all recognition. Then how did they get these letters? They came from his phones. They weren't paper letters inside the vehicle. That's another big misinformation point that's flying around. So the letters came from one of Livelsberger's phones, which call on Americans and military service members to wake up and realize that they're being led by weak and feckless leadership. And is Shawn Ryan in hiding? Prior to the release of Friday's episode, Ryan said on X that he and his family would be disappearing for a few days. Yeah, this is part of the stagecraft to hype a sensational story. My account will be active, but I will not be behind the wheel. What we're about to release is mind-boggling and will raise a lot of questions, Ryan wrote. But after sending out the post, Ryan hosted an X Spaces event and released a new podcast episode. It is not clear when the episode, which was released Monday, was recorded. Evans, at Friday's press conference, although this incident is more public and sensational than usual, it ultimately appears to be a tragic case of suicide involving a heavily decorated combat veteran who is struggling with post-traumatic stress disorder and other issues. Las Vegas Assistant Sheriff Dory Corinne at Friday's press conference said, we still have a large volume of data to go through. There are thousands, if not millions, of videos, photos, documents, and web history that need to be analyzed. What happens next? The incident remains under investigation by Las Vegas officials with assistance from the FBI. So I have just one more thing to share, which I think is important. Some people may say it's petty. Let them say that. Shawn Ryan also employs similar tactics to David Wilcock to stop people from being critical of his shows. And I can show you an example of that. Just bear with me for one moment. And we are now 6 away from our goal. We need 6 more super chats of $5 or more, and we've countdown. We've only got 28 minutes to get there. So we'd appreciate 6 more of you kind and generous folks throwing $5 in our hat to keep us honest and not selling out to sensational fake stories like some people here on these platforms. And I appreciate each and every one of you. We read every single super chat. All right, let me just share this because this is relevant here. Shawn Ryan UFO circus. In the beginning of the broadcast, we talked about how Mr. Ryan platforms complete and total liars. And then he does not acknowledge when those liars get revealed to be the liars that they are. Why can I not find it now? 1 second. Oh no, I did find it. So I just want to highlight this, because this content creator that makes, apparently or allegedly, according to Social Blade, is possibly making somewhere between $100,000 and $200,000, is also stealing money from me. That's right, Shawn Ryan immorally, unethically, and most likely illegally stole money from my creation of content. And I'm going to share that with you here. 1 second. I have to just share my screen. So we mentioned the Michael Herrera story being completely and totally fake in the beginning of our broadcast. And this is interesting, and I think I'm going to put it on the record just so that people understand exactly what kind of content creator and person Shawn Ryan is. When Michael Herrera was on his show telling his fake stories, we did a show very critical of Michael Herrera and his fake stories. It turns out that our reporting was 100% accurate on Michael Herrera. We were copyright claimed and we were ineligible for monetization. So every bit of ad revenue for this show, since it was broadcast, was paid to Shawn Ryan. Shawn Ryan stole that money from me. Now, I could, I suppose, file appeals, but the money's already been paid to him, and all the views are likely gone from that. There won't be a significant amount of views. So Shawn Ryan got all of my money for producing a factually accurate show critical of Michael Herrera. That's what he copyright claimed. Michael Herrera, U.S. Marine encounter. Video cannot be monetized. Ad revenue paid to the copyright owner. Who is the copyright owner? That would be Shawn Ryan. So, but to be honest, Shawn Ryan is making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. It's my opinion. I'm freely entitled to an opinion. He's not copyright claiming critical voices like me to steal our ad revenue. He has plenty of money. He's doing it to discourage us from sharing clips and being critical of his garbage peddling guests. And, sometimes this stuff really bothers me. I wasn't aware for this whole time that copyright claim came in. I must have missed a notification. So since we broadcast that, I don't even know what money that it made. I'd have to look. Maybe it got a couple of thousand views. So, he stole $30 from us with this false copyright claim. And yes, I could file an appeal and cite fair use because this was, of course, fair use. It's a transformative work. We were using the clip to educate the public. So for using a 2-minute clip of Mr. Shawn Ryan's show, I broadcast for 3 hours and 49 minutes. So we did almost a 4-hour show, but because we used a 2-minute clip and talked about it on this show, Shawn Ryan got all the ad revenue for that show, and I got paid nothing, apparently. This is an injustice, and I would welcome Shawn Ryan to give me my money back. You're making $200,000 a year, $200,000 a month, and you're hitting a small content creator like me with less than 20,000 subscribers and stealing ad revenue for fair using a clip. Maybe, there's multiple reasons why I really don't like Shawn Ryan, and this is one of them. You don't do that to a small content creator who it's clearly fair use. Clearly that 2-minute clip So is that's what Shawn Ryan's saying? Oh, you did a 4-hour show, but you used a 2-minute clip. So I'm going to take all your ad revenue and you won't make a dime from that 4-hour show you produced. But we're kind of used to this here, you know? I don't know what this is about. Ty E. McCullough Y says, that sounds like Shawn Ryan. He was grifting at me for a long time by repeating my old MySpace page. A bunch of people have made movies and songs from to get favors owed to me. I don't know what that's about, right? Lost Highway says, I got your copyright right here, douchebag. Yeah, absolutely. And welcome to the show says, that's low. What a coward. So, yeah, I don't have very much more to share. We're 6 away from the goal, but we did get 10 memberships gifted. So, in my eyes, we kind of hit the financial goal for this evening. And I want to thank every single one of you. If we want to see those fireworks go off or whatever, we'll need to get 6 more. 6 more super chats. Pay for the course, I guess, says 11's. All right, so questions or comments for me, please put them in all capital letters. I'm not really sure what that's about. Stephen, you know copyright claims are on autopilot. This is the least of his F-ups, says Kepsa. Yeah, I still hold him responsible, though. He decided to do that. Even if it is, automatically doing that, it's still, by his direction. Steve Long says, amazing job, Stephen. One of the best shows ever, in my opinion. Clip and share the dog shit out of this, peeps. Good. Thank you, Steve Long. I think Steve Long was going to join, but honestly, Steve, we're just wrapping up. And look at that. We are now at 15 on the goal, because we have another one from ET. Look into the ghost scientist. I will be doing that. Thank you, Steve Long, for your kindness, generosity, and support. Thank you, ET, for your kindness, generosity, and support. 11's is here and says, shirt turned out great. Glad you got it. Yes, this came from 11's, right? Thank you, 11's, who gave me an Art Bell Coast to Coast shirt, requesting that I wear it on the show. And since Art Bell is largely one of the reasons that we are here, having inspired me, listened to him for years. Kevin Alt asks, was that you who sent legal papers to David Wilcock? No, that would be Gaia Corporation, and we'll be covering all that this week. David Wilcock's legal troubles have only just begun, however, because I am aware of multiple investigations into Mr. Wilcock and his shady business practices. And unlike him, I'll be able to show proof of those investigations. For those unaware, David Wilcock claimed that I, Steve Cambion of Truth Seekers, was under criminal investigation by the Boulder County Sheriff's Office and the Philadelphia Police. That turned out to be a complete and total lie, like everything David Wilcock says. A white unicorn with rainbow hair. That's a kind of generous 99-cent super sticker from Welcome to the Show. Eventually, EV Mux may be able to share those correctly. And Salty Pig Pug says, suffer, David. Yeah. Yeah, he'll be suffering this week because we've got some new information to share. Patty says, Happy New Year, Stephen. Missed watching. Yeah, and I apologize for my absence. I should be very present. In fact, we're going to be picking up the pace of shows. During the break, I had an opportunity to go through. For those unaware, I sort of prepare a lot of shows in folders, and sometimes I don't get to them. And I have a lot, so we're going to start doing more shows than usual. We're going to try to hit the ground running in the coming year. Operation Shutdown says, can't wait for the next episode of The Wacky World of Wilcock. I think that should be Wednesday, friends. Gemma Jackson is here, welcome, who says, if it wasn't for your show, so many would still be sheep. Dude, keep up the important, good, honest work. You're a legend. Thank you, Gemma Jackson. Very, very kind of you. Every once in a while, Arlene Atkins says Stephen neglected us. Yeah, but and listen, I normally neglect my family and my family responsibilities and obligations in order to spend so much time here. So I just balance things out, Arlene, right? Yes, his show, David Wilcock's show was 5 hours long yesterday, right? Jenna and Zelmo says, missed you when you took a break. Glad you're back, Stephen. I'm glad to be back. Lost Highway says David Wilcock is fat. Yeah, somebody called him plump. And he said, I'm a wackadoo. For those unaware, David Wilcock actually said one of our viewers got him to say, I'm a wackadoo by putting it in the chat. And he read the chat and he said, I'm a wackadoo. So you know we'll be clipping that and using it. Steven just went to get a pack of cigs. At least he came back. Yeah, yeah, unlike those terrible fathers who did that, right? Oh man. So comments or questions for me, please put them in all capital letters, but we'll be wrapping things up here shortly. Another issue with the coming year is I'd like to try to do more shows, but keep them to 2 hours. Some people complain that those really long 4 or 5 hour ones are too much. Then, of course, some people say they love those long ones, right? Because they go to sleep to the show, or I don't know. I like long shows myself because I sleep. I can't sleep to silence, so I usually put on some long stream where somebody's talking about something that interests me, and then I go to sleep. So people like when we do that for the same purposes, I guess, right? Kevin Alt said PPP liked his watch, very classy. I'm not sure what that's about. I said I was going to get him a watch because, for those unaware, they go, "Oh yeah, we'll get started right away. We'll bring you right in." And the show starts at 8:30, and then they bring me in at like 11:30 or something. Sitting there for like 3 hours. So I always joke with P over at Kino Casino, "Can I get anything like a watch, maybe?" Right? I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm supposed to be on Kino Casino tomorrow night at 9 or 8:30 p.m. But we'll see what happens. Gemma Jackson says, it's funny. He says my name. I'm from the UK, posh Britain spoken. It's weird hearing Stephen say my name. You missed your show so much. Thank God. Yeah, a lot of people are happy I'm back. I got to tell you, it feels nice to be missed. It feels nice to be missed, and thank you all. I got a lot of nice messages, like I hope everything's okay. People know I'm kind of a streamholic, and some people were concerned when I didn't do a show. Great show, mate, says welcome to the show. All right, we are at 15. We need 5 more super chats at 5 or greater to hit our goal, and we have 15 minutes left to do it in. Yeah, and Gallius Caligula says, let's go Kino Casino. Be back. Yeah, those guys are doing a show right now, so I'm sure that has something to do with our drop in numbers. Those guys do a show. I try to not overlap, but they'll be getting started. I think they do like a half-hour intro, so they'll be getting started in a few minutes. But we had great attendance for our return, and I got to tell you, I was very worried because the last time I took like a week or two off, I came back to no viewers. It's like everybody just forgot who my show, and then it took us months and months and months to get back to the numbers before. It's like if you get off that treadmill, there's consequences. But luckily to see, there isn't. I could take a few weeks off. It's nice to know. Mike Campus says, can't wait for Steven's thoughts on certain people that Kino Casino will bring up. Well, I'm bringing them a story this month. Yeah, Jenna says she was worried for a minute. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Nick P says you're good at what you do. That's for sure. Thank you. Archaic Revival, man, don't. This gross, dude. Archaic Revival is saying, I was wondering about you when I was in the shower today. It's nice that you think of me when you're naked in the shower, dude. That's gross. Don't tell me that. Watching the past couple of years, he's constantly snorting and sniffing with his nose. Oh, David Wilcock is. Yes, absolutely. Double Tap Ranger Outdoors says, come on, people. Yeah, let's go. We need 4 more now. 4 more super chats of 5 teal or higher, 5 or more. Thank you, Double Tap Ranger Outdoors, who's trying to get us there. 4 more super chats at $5 or more to hit the goal. I've tried to take it easy on you guys tonight. Kevin Alt says, glad you're back. That was a drought. Yeah, I've heard that a lot, but it's okay. I did get a chance to work on a bunch of stuff during the break. I did what I would usually call, I did pre-production. But let's go 12 more minutes to get those four. Otherwise, I'll just consider that we hit our goal because Mike Larry, who's the MVP of gifting memberships. Oh, let's go. Three more, friends. The Las Vegas event caught my eye because the security footage was odd because not heard a gunshot. And there is a video that the man looks fine before the explosion. I know the videos are confusing, but thank you, Abusive Shampoo, for your kindness, generosity, and support. And thanks to that kindness, we only need three more, and we've got 12 minutes in which to do it. Three more super chats of $5 or more, and we hit our goal. But honestly, I already kind of feel like we did because Mike Larry gifted 10 memberships. Sandra McDonald says, I can consider the fact that I pony up every month to support Stephen, that I can like everyone else donating. Yeah, absolutely. We're a viewer supported show, and thanks to all of you. I should thank you, Patreon supporters, you YouTube channel members. And I don't know if you noticed, but I've been increasing. For those unaware, I used to only do one extra video a month, and that's it for the Patreon supporters and the YouTube channel members. But I've been doing one a week or more. Liz G with a kind of answering the call of the goal. God bless the goal. Praise the cash, bitches. Liz G with a kind of generous $5 says, "Oh, that's a super sticker. A pair character lifting some weights, saying keep it up. Thank you, Liz G, longtime show supporter." Roman X says, "Hey, he's back, right?" Yes, I am. Ty Blee, with a kind and generous $1.99, says, I too was worried. Well, thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. Just three more super chats. If we could do that in 11 minutes, 10 minutes. Yeah. Algaray is here and says, praise the cash, bitches. Why did YouTube space between the letters? I have no idea, Ty Blee. Ty E. McCullough says, I have half a dozen witnesses to my life murdered in 2012. Then a bunch of people started pretending to be me. Well, that sounds like a strange story. Yeah, let's go, guys. Three more, and we hit our goal for this evening, and we praise the cash. I think I have some praise the cash bumpers, but they're all David Wilcock praise the cash bumpers because those are just funny. You gotta praise the cash. Let's go, friends. We're trying to hit that goal. Three more at Teal, $5 or more in 10 minutes. We're trying to praise the cash, friends.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your generosity. Praise the cash, praise the cash.
All right. And if we hit the goal, I was going to do a Q&A or, ask me anything, but we're already kind of doing that. So if we hit the goal, I will share with you a new AI capability that we just got, which is incredible, and will enable me to make an awful lot more content, I believe. Richard Warner says, I knew he'd be back. Yeah, well, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah, Gemma Jackson says, great show, guys. Let's go. You're going to scare people away, says Liz G, right? Algaray says, I missed the Trixie Praise the Cash bumpers. You know what? I got those, but I have to go through them and replace the music in some of them. Because there is copyrighted music in some of those, and that kills me to do a 4-hour show, play a 10-second bumper, and lose all the ad revenue. It really, really sucks. Jackson Dittman, another one for the goal, $5 Australian, another for the goal, and that means we just need two more at Teal, $5 or better, and we hit our goal. And we have 8 minutes in which to do it. We're already doing the Ask Me Anything. If we hit the goal, I'm not sharing slop tonight. I will share a great video, which I just shared with our members and Patreon supporters, that shows an incredible new capability that we have. through the use of AI. We have basically an AI avatar generator. And with a combination of the AI avatar generator and the AI voice cloner, we basically can make David Wilcock say anything. And I love it. I love it, friends. Double Tap Ranger Outdoors says, you keep doing real research. I'll keep supporting you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And Liz G, either way, thank you for what you do, Steve. Yeah, I appreciate it. Oh, there I missed one. Jack Dittman said 2. 4, and then another one. Yeah, I guess there'll be another one for the goal. That's what we're trying to get. 19. One more. One more, and we have hit the goal, friends. Let's go. One more. We've got 4. Somebody can throw $5 in our hat and just write goal. Mr. Jack Dittman already did his part, and we have just a few minutes left on the goal. And that is ends in 7 minutes. I'm getting nervous here. 7 minutes to get one $5 super chat to hit the goal. Did you know Jerry was a race car driver? Says Mix. Yeah, I did know that, right? And he raced real fast. Jack Dittman says it won't let me. Damn it, do this on YouTube. I don't know why that is. Steve Long says BS for profit with no accountability for bad info or harm from it. Livelsberger was a fan of Shawn Ryan's podcast. His delusions probably reinforced by Ryan. This is a very good point that Steve Long is making here, friends. BS for profit with no accountability for bad info or harm from it. Livelsberger was a fan of Shawn Ryan's podcast. His delusions probably reinforced by Ryan's irresponsible promotion of conspiracy content. Yeah, it's a closed loop system, Steve Long. Closed loop system. And we need one more to get to the goal. Never did win, no checkered flag. Never did come in last, says Ty Lee. I remember that album. Porn magazines from ancient Egypt. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Yeah, so we want to take a moment to remind you as well. Besides the goal, my other goal tonight is we got it. Praise the cash. Praise the cash. We got the goal. Why don't I see it? Jimmy Tchaikovsky answering the call. Both Jimmy Tchaikovsky and 11s. Jimmy Tchaikovsky with kind and generous $5 Australian, and Stevens with a kind and generous $5, both making sure that we hit the goal. Praise the cash. Praise the cash. Thank the AI algorithm gods and all of our wonderful friends from around the world. Tonight we hit the goal. So because of that, I'm going to share with you a members only video, which is being made public for the first time. For those unaware, we basically are able to, if you're a member, you get the stuff early, and but then we sometimes make the stuff that we give to the members. We give. Well, let me see. How do I share that one? Oh yeah, share this tab instead. We basically, oftentimes we will give everybody that's a Patreon member or a channel member the first look at some of these produced videos, and then we share them publicly on the longer streams. So this is one of them, and I'm so happy and proud of this because this is using our AI avatar, which is been training for. I've been trying to do this for quite some time. So this, my friends, thank you for helping us hit the goal, all of you kind and generous benefactors, and thank you channel members and Patreon supporters. You got this a little bit early, but we're going to share it tonight.
Earth appears to.
So for those unaware, this is David Wilcock talking about how he got superpowers from piss. And for those unaware, I'm going to be producing a whole documentary just about David Wilcock that's going to be free on our channel. But because of legal issues, I don't want to just take his content and then try to make it transformative. I want to do a sort of a recreation. So this is a recreation that's going to be used in a David Wilcock documentary, which explains, well, in which he explains getting superpowers from his own piss. We're still going to put our fair use banner up, because what we did is we used his voice, but I replaced the video with this wonderful AI software, which I want to thank all of you kind and generous benefactors, you Patreon supporters and channel members, you super chatters, you PayPal pledgers, you people buying me a coffee. Because of the kindness, generosity, and support of all of you, I was able to purchase, I bought a year's worth of some of these AI tools that will be helping us to produce great content for you guys. Unfortunately, I'm a one-man army here, so I really have to like use AI tools to get ahead, really, of some of this content creation. But here's a great sample of what we're going to be able to do going forward with these new AI tools.
Earth appears to be more about how you draw the telekinesis out of the earth. And I'm going to talk about this in the Ascension philosophy.
And this isn't a real
I'm
video
going
of
to go
him,
into way more
friends. This
detail
is
on the
done with
telekinesis
AI.
exercises that Michael has been giving me telepathically.
He's getting telepathic
take it or leave it, whether you believe that this is true. But if he wrote a book in 1999 that's telling the future now, he's probably telling me the truth about how to get your telekinesis to work too.
There's no proof. There's no proof that the entity he claims to be talking to told the future. He talks about the prophecies after events happen. That's a typical scam of a fake psychic.
Because it is actually getting results. I am getting it to work. I never ever thought this would happen. I never thought I would be able to develop this ability unless I died and ascended into some angelic being. But apparently it's happening to me first, because it's going to be happening to you later on, and I'm here to tell you how to get ready for it.
Oh, great.
So this was a very, very strange one, friends. Where I was in the tub, because another part of the thing is the telekinesis bathtub. So the telekinesis bath is one of the things that Archangel Michael has been making me do. I have to take a bath. I cannot take a shower.
Angel's making him take a bath, not a shower.
To take a regular shower. I am supposed to bathe, and I'm supposed to bathe every day, but only in a bathtub.
Only in a bathtub, friends.
And then another one of the really funny things is that you have to pee in the bathtub.
You have to pee in it?
He wants your DNA in the water.
Oh, he wants your DNA. That explains it.
So I have been using scented oils. Even if you just do sandalwood and eucalyptus, those to me seem to be two of the most activating, because
awesome.
A lot of these compounds that smell really good have what are called sesquiterpenes, which are smell compounds that actually awaken your pineal gland.
Oh, that's good.
So sandalwood definitely, Palo Santo definitely, eucalyptus definitely. There's other ones that you can find. I would say just try it out and see what bath oils work for you.
Just try it out. Just try pissing in the tub.
Apparently is important
just
because
piss in the tub, friends.
It's getting your DNA outside your body into a medium that touches your skin, which gets into this whole inside-out thing where you have to turn yourself inside out and become the universe.
And
so
you do that by
peeing in the bathtub is a good way to get you there. I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm just following my instructions. I've noticed that there's an incredible amount of grief purging that goes on in the bathtub. Almost every time I take a bath, I'm releasing pain and sadness. And also,
it's good
at
to
least
release
in the earlier stages, he wants you to stay.
Can't you just release pain and sadness in a bathtub without pissing in it, though? I mean, I'm asking for a friend. Can't you just not piss in the bathtub and still release grief and sadness in the bathtub? I would think. I don't know. But apparently, the piss is a big part of it.
Stay in the bathtub until all the water drains out. So you gotta pull the frickin' thing, and then sit in there, wait for the tub to drain out. It's a pain in the ass.
Oh, friends. So that's a good, nice preview of our new capabilities. And we want to thank the End Is Near Beware for a kind and generous $5. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. Much, much appreciated. We are beyond our goal tonight. Thanks to you kind and generous benefactors and people like Mike Larry. Thanks once again for purchasing 10 memberships. Mike Larry likes to keep me working on these members' videos. I start looking at the statistics. Thanks, Mike Larry. I go, holy shit, there's like 100 new members. I got to make more member content and more Patreon content, right? Algoray, yes, I was asking for a friend. I was definitely just asking for a friend. Definitely. Richard Warner had his pineal gland removed. I don't know if that's even possible. Is that even possible? He is pissing in the gene pool is what is he doing, says Ty E. Mr. McCullough Wise. Foxy's friends just laughing. So do you have to hold onto your pee all day? That's cruel. Yeah, I think that's cruel. I think that's gross, right? Glenn Frith is here. Why is it that you can do, is that like an emoji? That's not a, why can it do emojis but not do the super stickers right? After a sting swimming, Jimmy Tchaikovsky pissed on my own feet after a sting swimming. Yeah, I heard that if you get stung, isn't that? I don't know. I'm not a doctor, so don't get your advice from me, but I've heard that. And by the way, I put up the comedic parody banner because it's fair use what we just played because it's a comedic parody. And David Wilcock is not going to like, our ability to do this now with the AI. We'll be able to make him say anything. We've cloned his voice. We've got an AI avatar of him. Yeah, I've heard that if you have a jellyfish sting, you're supposed to do that, but I'm not a doctor, so don't take that from me. But your skin is also your DNA. The truth near, beware. The end is near, beware. He was just jacking in the tub and then released his sadness because his wife left and he ended up pissing. Yeah, and she ended up leaving him for a cucumber patch. That's what happened. Salty Pug, he's going to be big mad. Yeah, he's a big fan of my show. And even a lot of people have said that he started watching my show and then he started with trying to do characters and stuff because he's ripping off truth seekers. If that guy had an original thought, it would die of loneliness, right? Oh, somebody else did a free energy grift. I got to do a free energy grift. Somebody else did an anti-gravity grift. I got to do that. Operation Shutdown says, Stephen, thank you for sharing that. That's a classified as hell video. Absolutely. Absolutely. Welcome to the show, says a cucumber patch. She can't get no satisfaction unless she pulls out I heard she graduated, though, from cucumbers to eggplants because they got more girth. That's gross. Gemma Jackson says, Wilcock has now gone over the cliff. There's no level he won't go to get money from people. Well, Gemma Jackson, he's got a problem. He's got a lot of problems because there's several investigations going on that I'm already aware of. Add to that he said that there'd be a mass alien contact event and the first waves of ascension by May of 2025. So what's going to happen when nothing happens, Gemma? Because he does these predictions all the time and then nothing happens. Usually he goes away for 6 months, but he can't this time because he needs to get that weekly money from Super Chats or he won't survive. Remember, he's barely surviving. Yes, Wilcock is barely surviving. I have a video of that somewhere. Oh, yeah. We're going to play that to also thank you guys. David, listen, for those unaware, David Wilcock is only making $250,000 a year in Super Chats and YouTube money. It's barely enough to survive, friends. It's just barely enough to survive. I will be seeing cucumbers in my live chat for the rest of my life. For those unaware, David Wilcock's once wife made porno videos where some chick was dilling herself with cucumbers. Really, really spiritual content, right? David Wilcock is having a hard time surviving on $250,000 a year, friends.
So, I do make about maybe 10 grand a month on this, but that includes all the super chats and all the ads and everything. So it's not really enough. It's just barely enough to survive. Anyway, what I made last year was $258,000. So that was my tax return. That's what I made. It was just barely enough to survive. It's certainly not big money as far as I'm concerned. It was just barely enough to survive. What I made last year was $258,000. It was just barely enough to survive. I do make about maybe 10 grand a month on this, but it's just barely enough to survive. It's certainly not big money as far as I'm concerned. It was just barely enough to survive. Right for the moment, I still desperately need your help in order to survive. What I made last year was $258,000. It was just barely enough to survive. What I made last year was $258,000. Certainly not big money as far as I'm concerned. It was just barely enough to survive. Right for the moment, I still desperately need your help in order to survive. So, I do make about maybe 10 grand a month on this, but that includes all the super chats and all the ads and everything. So it's not really enough. It was just barely enough to survive. What I made last year was $258,000. It's not really enough. It was just barely enough to survive. Right for the moment, I still desperately need your help in order to survive. I do make about maybe 10 grand a month on this. It's not really enough. It was just barely enough to survive. What I made last year was $258,000. It's not really enough. It was just barely enough to survive. Right for the moment, I still desperately need your help in order to survive. I do make about maybe 10 grand a month on this. What I made last year was $258,000. It was just barely enough to survive. It's not really enough. It was just barely enough to survive. It's not really enough. It was just barely enough to survive. It's not really enough. It was just barely enough to survive. It's not really enough. It was just barely enough to survive. It's not really enough. It was just barely enough to survive. It's not really enough. It was just barely enough to survive. It's not really enough. It was just barely enough to survive.
Just barely enough to survive, friends. And I don't understand him because, I think I'd be lucky. I mean, I have to check the spreadsheets or whatever, but our show makes probably less than a tenth of that. And we're not only surviving, we're thriving. So, but I don't have a $2 million home and live by myself. Could you imagine heating a $2 million home to live there by yourself? How wasteful is that, right? Gemma Jackson says, dude's going to fall. By May, friends, the whole grift is coming crashing down, right? Mr. Protractor says, notice as time goes by, he looks more and more like this, a clown. Yeah, absolutely. Will be interesting to see what is he going to do when none of his predictions come true for 2025. So he's got a very short window in which to grift money off of people while he's promising these big earth changes and the mass arrests. He just did it again. He just promised mass arrests again on his latest broadcast. Jimmy Tchaikovsky says, praise the cucumber. Yeah, absolutely. Well, friends, I believe that we have done our due diligence. Victim of circumstances says Ryan sounds like a scumbag. Well, people can draw their own conclusions, but the guy is making millions of dollars a year platforming nonsense. And, I'm sure he was once an honorable man. He was a military man. He was a Navy SEAL. You don't get there by being a scumbag. But I guess after the Muppet Pimpin is asking, did I quit smoking? No, I just cut down a lot. So I'm trying to not smoke as much, especially on streams. A very big content creator told me that I should never smoke on screen because YouTube doesn't like it. And they're probably right because they don't know if you're smoking cigarettes or something else, especially because I do these roll your owns. They look like suspiciously like something else, and they could be right because sometimes we have shows demonetized where I barely cursed at all. And you never know. Algo Ray says, remember, he promoted mass arrests, earth changes, and disclosure in 2025. Yeah, that's what's supposed to happen, right? Stay on those buzzards, Steven, says Richard Warner. Yeah, we intend to. We pretty much, Corey Good's grift is over, and he's getting sued into oblivion by Gaia Corporation. By the way, David Wilcock is crying on his streams because he got subpoenaed. He's going to have to give a deposition and answer 8 hours of questions about the business dealings with Gaia and all the stuff that happened when Corey and David left Gaia. Remember, David Wilcock put out this 10-page resignation letter claiming that Gaia TV were Luciferian Satanist or something. Can't say that about people. Of course, he said that about me. Remember? He said I was a Satan worshiper. Why? Because he found a show where I wore a devil mask, right? And I'm still demanding that he take that streamed down, but he hasn't yet. Yes, Richard Warner says nothing Wilcox said has ever come true. He's the world's worst psychic, right? Uh, yeah, you'd think it would be that easy. Scully, the Hypnoskull, said, I used to smoke, then I stopped buying cigarettes, and that did the trick. Yeah, if it was only that easy, right? Patrick Bloodstone says, I always want to catch this show live. I'm way off the grid. It's kind of hard to catch, but been a fan for a while now. Thanks for laying the smackdown on these effing grifting wackadoos. Well, thank you, Patrick Bloodstone. Very kind and generous of you to say. Muppet Pimpin says he promoted mass arrests in 2018 in Above Majestic in the last half where he went full Q-tard. Yeah, and none of that happened. And now he's once again predicting mass arrests and 10 Days of Darkness and all that shit. It's like, does he just think if he just keeps saying the same prediction over and over and over again every year that one of these years it's going to happen and then he'll look like a big hero? Yes, Lost Highway says David could get his wife back if he found those box of dildos. Yeah, absolutely. Well, friends, I believe that we have done our due diligence. I'm not sure. I don't believe that I'll be back on our show here tomorrow night, but I know that I will be back on Kino Casino. Just go over to kick.com and put Kino Casino Gaming in the search bar, and you'll find the guys at Kino Casino. They do a great and fun show. Tomorrow night, we're going to be telling the incredible story of the stupidest and funniest medbed scam ever. There's a guy named Octorius Ra who got a tanning bed and then he glued magnets and trash in it, and he wanted to charge people hundreds and thousands of dollars for one of these things, or hundreds of dollars to sit in it for an hour. And by the way, he claimed it could do all these, it had all these incredible health benefits. Turns out if you have a pacemaker or coiling or any metal or a pacemaker, it could hurt or maybe even kill you. And this guy, irresponsibly, he took it to Conscious Life Expo and was just letting people lay in it with no disclaimers that it was filled with very powerful magnets or it could hurt you if you have a pacemaker or very dangerous. Oh, this could cure anything if it doesn't kill you. So we'll be there tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Kino Casino. So we've done our due diligence. And, what I can say about tonight's broadcast is that this isn't the first time that I've covered somebody taking advantage of a tragedy, a suicide, a murder in order to profit in conspiracy land. And sadly, I'm sure it will not be the last time that we do this. People are all too willing to jump in as long as they can get profit, no matter how tragic an event is. We've seen it with school shootings, suicides, murders, mentally unwell people, hurting people. There's always going to be somebody like Shawn Ryan in conspiracy land. And, it's very clear why he does it. I had no idea that Shawn Ryan was making that kind of money until I looked at his Social Blade. And anybody can see, you can just go to Shawn Ryan show on Social Blade. He got 41 million views last month, almost 42 million. If we're very conservative and just say he gets 4,000 per million, then he made $165,000 roughly this month. Now, of course, maybe he only gets 2,000. He still made $80,000 or $100,000 in 1 month promoting this nonsense. He's never done a retraction on Michael Herrera being caught being a complete and total liar. After all, his commanding officer came out. And of course, we've got Stephen Greer, who claimed he had the smoking gun evidence and proof. This is the smoking gun. This document, full of nonsense, is from 2001. And it's filled with provable fake government documents. That's what people paid money to Stephen Greer for, to get a bunch of fake stories from his wackadoo friends and fake government documents. This is the smoking gun. Nonprofit research project. Yeah, nonprofit. And it's no longer nonprofit. That guy's a millionaire from selling bullshit. And Shawn Ryan couldn't wait to platform him. And where is Shawn Ryan's retraction about Billy Carson? Because now we know that Billy Carson uses horrible, fake, or mostly fake sources for his so-called true forbidden knowledge. It's ridiculous. But, people love a sensational story. There will always be really people that are willing to sell their soul for the cash. I hope I'm never one of them. So, what can I say, friends? That's all we got. I will be back on Wednesday night here at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But in the meantime, I'll be on Keno Casino tomorrow, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Follow me on Twitter at Stephen Cambion. I'll be posting the link to join us on the Keno Casino tomorrow. And it's just a good idea to follow us on social media. You can follow me on Facebook as well at Stephen Cambion. And be sure to check out our website, truthseekershow@gmail.com. Or excuse me, our website is truthseekershow.com. You can email me at truthseekershow@gmail.com. And be sure, if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. You too can be part of our live chat and live broadcast. We love the audience interaction. If you're listening in audio podcast land, we love and appreciate you, but you're missing half the fun. So go on over to YouTube and put Truth Seekers, one word, in the search bar, youtube.com. Then go to the search bar, put Truth Seekers in. You'll see me, the strange guy with sunglasses. Go there, smash the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and you'll know when we are doing a live broadcast, and you can come and be a part of it. Don't just listen, though we love you listeners. Don't just watch, though we love you watchers. Come and be a part of the show. You are most welcome. So that's all I got for you, friends. Until next time, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you.